This is a low IQ African invader in Europe demanding the rail car seats of two older white women. They scurry away in fear as the Congoid displays aggression, banging the glass panel, and takes the seat as a lord of all he surveys. Look at the terrified face of the woman in the foreground on the left. How many months, years, or many more invaders is Europe away from low IQ Africans banging on doors of homes to take them over? How long are Europeans away from hearing the South African equivalent chant of "kill the Boer, but kill the whites"?
The poor, the farmer, kill the poor, the farmer.
Europeans have been brainwashed into being docile cowards, supine and spineless. They've had drummed into them that nationalism is vile and loving your race is racist. It's devious programming for their replacement and finally their genocide. That's what you just viewed. The slippery slope where once proud Europeans now live in fear in their own homelands, while white liberal traitors betray their own people by enabling and facilitating the invaders to enter their countries and intimidate, assault, steal and rape while on the public purse. White men need to rebuild their masculinity and love their race and nations, join together and be disagreeable, throwing out the invaders and liberal white traitor collaborators to regain Europe for the white races. Enough is enough. Hitler was right, and John Kennedy was right about Hitler. In 1945, as the war ended, Kennedy was working in Germany as a correspondent for Hearst newspapers. As he surveyed the immediate aftermath of the war, Kennedy wrote in his diary, "Hitler will emerge from the hatred that surrounds him now as one of the most significant figures who ever lived. He had in him the stuff of which legends are made."
A diary kept by a young John F. Kennedy during his brief spell as a journalist travelling in post-war Europe is up for auction. The 61 pages provide insights into Kennedy's thoughts on world leaders of the era, including a fascination with Adolf Hitler. It's thought to be the only diary ever kept by the 35th US president and was given by him to a research assistant in the late 1950s.
Interesting things are what Kennedy writes about Hitler. You have to remember, he's 28. He's witnessing the destruction of Hitler's bunker, Berlin. All of Germany lay in ruins. And he puts down onto paper, he says, after visiting these two places, you can easily understand how that within a few years, Hitler will emerge from the hatred that surrounds him now to one of the most significant figures who ever lived. He had in him the stuff of which legends are made.
Some 2 decades before addressing crowds in West Berlin as president, John F. Kennedy wrote these 61 diary pages, 12 in longhand, 49 typed, in the summer of 1945. Germany had just surrendered, and the 28-year-old JFK was touring Europe as a newspaper correspondent, traveling shoulder to shoulder with leaders from around the world. The young JFK's final destination, Germany, just months after the Allied victory. Already a scholar on global politics, Kennedy seemed fascinated with Hitler and his place in history, writing, "He had in him the stuff of which legends are made, and within a few years, Hitler will emerge from the hatred that surrounds him now as one of the most significant figures who ever lived."
Jews run Europe. They poison the memory of Hitler. They hate nationalism, and they hate white homogeneity, all which do not serve Jews. Europe has strict anti-Semitic and Holocaust denial laws. To know who rules you, see who you can't criticize. Demonizing and persecuting white Europeans, that's no problem now in Europe. On the road to ethnically cleansing the continent and UK of white formerly Christian people. And herein is the real problem. White people abandoned Christianity, allowing all manner of degeneracy, deviancy, and perversions to embolden the white liberals who've betrayed their own race. The invaders would not have arrived and be made to feel welcome unless traitors facilitated it. That's the place to start. Seize power and first clean out the Marxists and liberals. Send them packing as did Adolf Hitler. Only then can Europeans regain their dignity, cultures, homogeneity, prosperity, and security. Now watch this to understand who is really destroying Europe using multiculturalism and tolerance as cover for white replacement and destruction to create a vacuum which Jews have filled.
And Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
you're white, then you suspect the black man.
Yeah.
If you're black, you suspect the white man. And they know that.
Yeah.
They know that. And they know that because the minute they can get that going, and between that black guy and that white guy, the Jew becomes invisible. Nobody sees the Jew anymore.